Episode number 7. We're cooking along of Nothing But Hockey. Ben Holden, Paul Cappy and I poolside again down
One last time, baby.
in Florida, and then it's back to reality. Cappy, how are you, my friend?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, just soaking it in. It's beautiful down here. Um, but yeah, I'm ready to get back. Let's get some hockey going. Excited. Some schedules are coming out for some people.
Yeah,
I'm kind of halfway done on mine, but yeah, let's go. Another good week of hockey. Um, Kind of some surprises too. Just fun. You kind of get lost in some of the things that are going on, and you realize that Macklin Celebrini's only played one game all season,
that's
and he
insane.
had a great game.
Yeah,
And you can kind of see why they have not. They're the one team with that, you know, goose egg in the left win column. So,
wow.
uh, good stuff in hockey though. We got to backtrack maybe on some of our buy them and sell them and all that from last week.
Uh, Maybe a little, yeah. I'd
Or
say
tweak.
Colorado would be one of those, but I think, in the end, I think we thought they would be okay. But
Well, I said they could be a playoff team still, but I just didn't think they were a contender.
I don't think they're a contender either, but yeah, they've kind of righted the ship a little bit. They had a big win in Utah Thursday night. So before I go any further, you're wearing the new Big Ten swag. I
Newish.
decided to go retro. Look at that baby. That's from like
Before Big Ten hockey existed.
that's from like 2001 at the Big Ten basketball tournament, man. When I used to cover that in
Wow.
Lansing. So, yeah, some schedules out. We're starting to get some pieces. You and I'll be doing some games. You'll be in the studio. You'll be in the booth. I'll be doing some games in December, January, and February. Happy to announce that we got some clearance and some clarification on that here in the last couple of days. So I'm stoked. I don't have to leave the state of Michigan to do any of the games that I'll be doing, which is right in my wheelhouse. They're all Michigan and Michigan State games, man. I'm excited for that.
Easy on the miles, easy on the miles on your truck, and I'll still be begging to try to get to Yost Ice Arena. It's the one arena in the Big Ten I have not done a game in yet.
That is amazing.
Um,
You need to talk to management, man. I need to
I,
talk to management
you
for you on that.
know, well, I blame Fred for living so close. That's it.
Freddie Pletch. Freddie will
No,
be
but
on the show at some point.
yes, he will, and I'll give him shit about that. But
Yep.
no, it's exciting. That's great for you in terms of you don't want to travel too much. You travel all that time for your other sports with rugby and whatnot. It's kind of nice for you to just go across to
Yep.
those barns, and they're both top 10 teams. Both are just great venues to be in. That's why I'm a little jealous that I haven't been able to do. I've only done one game at Munn, so
Wow.
um, yeah, done a couple Michigan State games, but
In
on
studio.
site only once. I was actually a Michigan State game, so it was a good one. But yeah,
Good one
no,
to
it's
do.
what's that?
That's a good one to do.
Yes, it was good, and it was a weird time. It was early in the Big Ten. They're both programs were kind of finding their way a little bit then. Um, but yeah, I mean, you could feel it then, and right now it's just going to be electric. So, and you got the game as of right now at Joe Louis, Little Caesars. I
It'll
mean,
always be
that
Joe
is going to
Lewis.
be exactly. I mean, that's going to be electric. So
Yeah.
good for you on that. And yeah, just ready to get going. I'll be like I said, I'm filling in next week. I'll be in South Bend.
Nice.
Man, where's Wisconsin right now? I know we were going to go a little bit of NHL, but
Okay, we're gonna go. No, we'll go college first. We'll go Wisconsin,
yeah,
and
I
they're
mean,
they have a massive series. I think if North Dakota wasn't hosting BU this weekend, that would be the series in college
sure.
hockey. Let's start there. Wisconsin. I mean, they're a bit of a big question mark right now.
Yeah,
They've not played well.
yeah.
They got swept last weekend.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of them. I just know generally what Mike Hastings' track record is
Yeah,
all the
we
way
all
back
do.
to when I played for him. I just think it's so difficult to continue to bring in a bunch of transfer guys.
Yeah,
It's just different than when you bring in freshmen, because freshmen, everyone's new. They're new
yeah,
to that, not just the school but to the game of
yeah.
college hockey. They are continuing to bring in transfers that are juniors, seniors, or fifth year guys, and
Right.
a chunk of them that are supposed to be kind of guys you're relying on quite a bit.
That's right.
And it's just hard early on in the year because these guys don't know their place. That's how I would feel if
Yeah.
I was a fifth year guy and I'm like, okay, well, I'm a senior. but I'm also new here. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, they're trying to figure it out. And man, are they going to have to, I don't think they thought they'd be going in there, what is it? They got a tie, two losses,
To beat Lindenwood.
1-2-1 they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And now they're going to Denver, which has just been smoking at home. That place is just one of the toughest barn. It's a tough barn. They're a great team. And then obviously like the altitude and everything, I think they take advantage of that a little bit too. So it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup because they're by far the big underdog now. 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't have said that as much, but now the way they played early, I think it'll be good for them to get away and be the hunter instead of the hunted.
Yeah, they're going to learn a lot about their club because Denver's the best team in the country for a reason. So
yep.
I'll be tuning that one in Friday night on NCHC TV, watching that one. I believe it's a 9 Eastern start, 7 Mountain time. And then BU in North Dakota. And before I jumped on with you to record this, I just was on Twitter and our buddy, I think it's College Hockey History is the Twitter feed. And he had the last time the BU and North Dakota met in North Dakota, and that was in the regional in 17 when Charlie McAvoy was wearing the red and white for BU, and Clayton Keller was a freshman, and BU won that game in Fargo in the regional.
In Fargo, yep.
Yeah, that's going to be a massive series. I think there's some question marks about North Dakota for me more than BU. I know the Augustana game's an exhibition game. They split last weekend at Minnesota State. And it's kind of to your point, Cappy, about what you mentioned with Wisconsin. So many guys coming in out of the portal. It's hard to find that chemistry. You can talk to that as a player. It takes time. You can't just plug guys in. You got to have a lot of reps with each other, right?
I mean, usually that's what you think. Now, hey, sometimes things can just click, right?
Yep.
Especially maybe if you bring in a couple guys from the same spot. Wisconsin did do that with some RIT guys. I also think going back a little bit to Wisconsin is he brought a lot of players the first year that he already knew from his old school.
Yep,
now he's bringing guys from other places, and everyone else is doing that too. I just think with the portal and with and things will change a little bit now with COVID 5th year out next year. I don't think there'll be as much movement. I just think we need to try to temper our expectations the first month to even 2 months. Quite frankly, college hockey is probably the longest season of any sport. Like it goes over to 6 months. No other sport goes 6 months. It's not even close.
No.
There's a break for almost a month usually in the middle. So yes, look, we all want to be prisoners of the moment, but come on. Like, I think you got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. Obviously, these are big games, of course. Everything counts in the pairwise. But in terms of what you think these teams are going to be, and UND and BU are, right now you think are safe long term. Yeah. Obviously, they got to win games and prove themselves. But these teams are most likely NCAA tournament teams and top 10 teams. But it's tough. BU doesn't have a ton of them. They've got, they got Iserman came in. And they have, one Hudson replaces another Hudson. They still have Karan in net, which is a really nice veteran goaltender. Yeah. UND's figuring out. We talked to Schloss, a month ago. They're goaltending. They brought in Septim Felter, and then they have the young guy that they want to give time. It's very similar to what Minnesota has going on with Airy and Soulier, but it's early. It's exciting. It's almost better to see them playing each other instead of you want to see them kind of maybe up against the top of cream of the crop. And I love seeing these interconference matchups early in the year. I'm glad teams are not kind of putting all, whatever you want to call them, soft non-conference schedules. I like to see these because I think they realize they benefit more in the pairwise than they do when they're playing teams at the bottom of hey, Long Island's a brand new team in the country. If you have nothing to gain in the pairwise with them, if you're supposed to win both those, if you tie them or lose one, that really hurts you. So I think teams are now starting to try to schedule tougher non-conference schedules.
And speaking of them, Long Island, they play Notre Dame this weekend. We're not going to dive into that one, but just to follow and piggyback off other series of note, Trey Augustine of Michigan State, they're going out to play Canisius. So you would think State gets a couple wins in that.
Good to see them travel out there. You just don't see it very often where the high profile schools go out and play on the road at the smaller universities.
Yep. And then your Buckeyes, who swept Wisconsin. That's a huge get for Steve Rollick. Congrats to Rollick, 200th career win. They're taking on Bowling Green. That's always a gritty series. I'm sure you played in that in the CCHA.
Yep. Home and home.
Yeah.
In state, they've been playing every year, which I love that.
I do too.
And Bowling Green's barn is a tough little place. They fill up for Ohio State too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Ohio State, will they have a little confidence, or will they, be a little too full of themselves after a nice weekend?
So validate it, man. Right?
Exactly. That's why tonight is so big for them, and it's going to be interesting there. Another note, we'll go college hockey, but there's a women's hockey to talk about. The women's national championship team is playing in a icebreaker tournament at the Shot.
Ooh.
That today. They already played. There were 2 games this afternoon.
Love it.
Before the men's game. And I've always been this, and I love my school, but the ice there has never been great. So they're going to be playing at 7:00 after 2 women's games that just played that are ending probably at around 5. So, hey, both teams got to play on it. But, the ice is probably going to be a little tough there tonight at Value City.
So am I hearing like a 2-1 kind of game?
Well, I think that's how the Buckeyes want to play it, right? I mean, they're they've kind of found an early season. Hey, get a couple goals, play good defense, and their goaltending has been strong. They split the nets, and I think that's probably if they can play well with the lead, they've shown they can do that the last couple weeks. So that's probably going to be a remedy for success.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go back a couple episodes to me, I think they're the dark horse in the Big Ten. I think if they can keep doing what they're doing, they're going to give a lot of teams a lot of problems, even these higher echelon teams in terms of talent, the Minnesotas, the Michigan right now, they're not in a very good place. They're playing the development team tonight. So half the team, they're playing guys that are going to play there next year. Maybe not half, but
they got some recruiting classes. The next 2 years, Michigan's got some classes coming in. But and Michigan's got a brutal. They probably have the toughest non-conference schedule, and they haven't played them yet. They played 2. I mean, you had Minnesota State, who's tough, St. Cloud, who's tough. That's who they played already.
Yeah,
which is, what? It's not the worst thing in the world.
No,
when you look at where those teams are, they're both top 20 teams. But I believe they have. I think they play BU. And I got to look again, but they have a murderer's row of non-conference games. I'll look it up again. But, I love these. Like I said, they have BU next week.
Yep.
And then they have a couple weeks down the road, they have, I don't know where it is, but they have a tough schedule. They have 4 of their 5. They played Arizona State. They went out to Arizona State. Another, at the time, was a ranked team.
Yeah.
So I don't think, they haven't scheduled. I like that scheduling, to be honest with you. But anyway, it's going to make them better in the long run. Just like what's Izzo at Michigan State, right? He just loads the schedule up with difficulties, and always his team is ready in March. Their record might not be the best, but they're always prepared down the road. And I think that's something that Michigan is trying to do when you look at their non-conference schedule.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. A couple other series. And I'm not leaving the one for last because I rank it that way, but I think it's a really dicey series. 2 other quickly touch on Omaha. We saw what they did against Minnesota. Your guy in net there. They're at Minnesota State. Mentioned the Mavericks split with North Dakota at home last week. Omaha, the win over Minnesota. That's one to watch. Augustana and St. Cloud, another one, and then the last one. St. Thomas and Minnesota. Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think that's a split. I think St. Thomas wins one of those games. I don't think it's Friday, but I think it's the Saturday game when they play them at the X in St. Paul.
See, that's why I don't think they're going to win a game.
Why?
Is because they're not getting a home game. That Excel game is going to be more of a Minnesota crowd than a Tommy's crowd, and I think that they're going to have juice for that game. I think maybe last year they had a wild game there. I think it was like a 6-5 game.
Yeah.
I could see a tie possibly. It really depends on goaltending. Liam Soulier had a great game on the back end of their sweep of UMD last weekend. He had 30 saves. The first night, Ari didn't have a great game, but it was a weird game, right? It was the game was a blowout and then UMD got a couple weird goals. Like
Yeah.
it never seemed like a game, right? And then Aries letting in 5 on 20 shots or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think you throw that one out the door. I think they go the same way this weekend. I think Aries gets to start home. Maybe that's where they sneak in, but you're going to throw Soulier in the end at FXL. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just think if they're playing at St. Thomas, I think you would see more of I would see more of a chance of a split. But I think the Gophers would be juiced to play at the X.
Yeah, probably so, but I'm still going to stick to it. I think
Do it. Hey, I'm not trying to talk you out.
No, I know.
Tell my side.
I think St. Thomas is they're going to be a really tough team in the CCHA this year. And I know
they're coming.
Minnesota's Minnesota. They got what they got. There's many people saying this is the best Minnesota team that Motzko has had there. And that's a hell of a statement because he's had some good teams. I mean, think of the D-course with Faber and Lacombe and Johnson, and I'm probably missing guys. And
you got some of those young guys from that D-corps. Middlestead and Chesley were freshmen on that team. Now those guys are the juniors. They're the older guys.
Yeah.
And then you were able to keep Mike Kester. So you got 3 guys still from that great D-corps of just 2 years ago with Faber and Lacombe and Johnson, all NHL. The other half of that group is still there. And then you brought in Rinzel, first rounder. You've got Thomas. And then you got Gruba is a pretty nice young D. So Minnesota, we've talked about this before. I think from goal out there, they got the best roster. Goal in, it's a question mark right now. And obviously we'll find out because they had Justin Close for 2.5 years. He was a question mark 2.5, when he had to jump in the net mid-season. I remember we never talked so much goaltending on Big Ten Today with Dave Revson about Jack LaFontaine just leaves and you got to bring, you have a recruited walk-on come in and look what Justin Close did for 2.5 years. So that's where, we'll find out about Minnesota. But from goal defense to forwards, that's a pretty, it's deep. Like there's not like 2 superstars. It's just, there's a lot of guys that can do some good things.
Yeah, it's a group of guys. It's a really good team. And I still remember that night. I did the last game LaFontaine played at Minnesota. It was a Saturday at Munn. We did the series there. Get up in the morning and Freddie sends me a text. Hey, LaFontaine's in the Carolina organization. So that was a shock to everybody and a huge kick in the gut to Minnesota, but that's just how things go.
Still worked out. They went to the Frozen Four.
Yeah, exactly. So one other thing college-wise before we get on to the NHL. So I was doing a little reading today and there was a good piece that I saw. I did not realize that Southern Cal has had a form of a hockey team for 100 years. They've had a team. We need to get to the point where we're adding these teams in the Big Ten. You like all these SEC teams. I think it's gold. I think we're sitting on a gold mine here with these schools that can bring hockey. Get Southern Cal in, get UCLA in, get Arizona in, get Oregon in, get these club teams.
Illinois, Nebraska.
Yeah,
Iowa.
Nebraska. Perfect.
I mean, look, I've not on air on a podcast or anything. I've been preaching this for years, and now you're going to have so many more players now eligible for Division I hockey. You got to hope to expand higher, or you're just going to run out of room. And there's going to be what it's going to do. It's going to make Division III hockey way better. Because you're going to have a lot of guys that are Division I quality players that are not going to be playing Division I. Plus, with the rosters maxed at 26, there's teams that have 30 guys on their roster now. So you're going to have more players down if we don't get that. And I don't know. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But I could see it growing. I could see a team like Oregon keeping an eye on it now that they're in the Big Ten. Yeah. They're going to see what's going on. And it would be in Washington, even in the Seattle area, now with the Kraken. I mean, there's just a ton of opportunity. It's just a lot of money. Title IX also comes into place,
sure
but I mean, I think you've seen it in enough schools in the Big Ten. It's a money making place. You're not going to lose money on hockey if you do it the right way.
Your building's going to be full every night.
Right. And there's a lot of schools. That's the frustrating thing with some of the Big Ten schools right now. You have an arena at Nebraska. They could make that their basketball arena is hockey ready.
Oh yeah.
Iowa has a 4,500 seat arena that's brand new. That's right off campus there. they've got those. Those are the biggest problems. If Illinois had that, if someone would have done that for Illinois, there'd be Division I hockey in Illinois right now.
Still blows me
It
away.
would be
There's
in their
not.
second year, and COVID happened, and there's nothing to do you can do about that. But I still think it'll happen. It's just a matter of when on a couple of those schools. I think U of I will find a way again in some form or fashion because they were just too close. They have the they had it all planned. I mean, it was literally a month from saying, here we go. So, I mean, nothing much has to change. It's the cost does, and hopefully they find some money, ways to do it a little differently. Some people smarter than me to make the finances work because that's a place where they'll make money on hockey.
Oh yeah,
because that place will fill up and they'll do really well. I mean, there's Illinois has the fourth or fifth most Division I players, and they don't have one school in the state.
that's
You don't think you're
mind-boggling.
going to get players to go there? So we'll see. We'll see down the road. But yeah, no, it's exciting. I always love hearing about these schools. I just get that jump. It's amazing to see these small schools, Long Island, Lindenwood, create hockey, and it's like, well, we can't get some of these big juggernauts with zillions of dollars,
Tons of money
to do it. So we'll see down the road. We need some Terry Pagula type guys that love hockey, that want to invest in their schools.
Instead of putting another NHL team in Georgia and Atlanta, I mean, we talked about that before, you and I, whether it was here.
They're building a brand new arena at University of Georgia right now for their club.
Get that rink done in Athens and get a team playing, and the Georgia Bulldogs come skating out. So
rocking.
Yeah. All right. So that's kind of a look, our look around at College Puck this weekend. Tuesday night was the NHL Frozen Frenzy, of course.
Love it.
Second year we've done that. 16 games, all 32 were going. I see some people, people on social media complain if the sun's out. They're like, why do they do it on Tuesday? There were 2 NBA games.
It's football season, right?
Exactly.
You have Tuesday and Wednesday are your windows.
Yes.
And so people, like you said, some people will complain just to complain.
Yeah. I loved it. It was great. I was watching puck all night.
One factoid on it that you would be interested in.
What do you got?
On the gambling side of things.
Uh-oh.
So 16 games, right? 32 teams.
Yeah.
The over-under for hockey games generally is 5.5, correct?
Typically, yeah.
Typically.
Yeah.
8 games were under 5.5 goals, and 8 games were over 5.5 goals.
And I'm telling
you. The gamblers, it's like they know. It's amazing.
And since we're on that, last night you're watching. Did you watch the Vikings and the
of course
game? You saw the end of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I instantly text a friend of mine. I'm like, dude, and this is a guy that I've been saying since I've known him for 3 years. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, this league is fixed. The referee was standing right behind the play. The back judge is standing 10 feet to the left. I'm telling you, man.
I don't know because I don't know what the point spread was on that.
Everybody was,
and it didn't look good for Minnesota. I mean, they were on the 1 yard line.
The money was on Minnesota, Cappy,
but they weren't going to cover.
I know,
even if they got down the field and they weren't going to cover the spread.
But you don't know because they could have went down and scored and got the 2 and went to overtime and won. The line to open the game was 2.5 points.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
So, and they
I don't know.
But I'm
not going to be that much of a conspiracy theorist. The call was missed. It was ridiculous.
That's another.
I'm not gonna.
That's another.
You know what's funny? The one referee you could see the referee should have saw
right there.
The one guy did get blocked out by the 2 guys. You could see that on the camera. But the one guy, I don't know what he was doing, and he had to answer the questions behind. He flat out said, "I didn't see it."
And this is where I last thing I'll say on it.
Sure.
This is where I think the NFL does some of that stuff in some situations because they want the drama, they want the controversy, they want gray area, they don't want to give you the truth. And you can't review those calls. You got to review calls like that. Sorry.
Well, so I think that's what'll change on a play like that too. That's also a player safety issue because it's
100%.
It's not a holding penalty, right? Where it's there's room for judgment. This was a flat out safety of a guy's head too, like helmet to helmet stuff. Those are dangerous plays where those should be able to be ruled. But but just the gambling thing. It's amazing how you can get talking about a little bit of a gambling thing, and then you go right into the NFL and get all fired up.
I'm telling you, man. That's another podcast for another day. We'll move on. We'll digress.
Yeah,
But
let's talk some NHL. There's some good
yeah,
things out there.
I mean, the Winnipeg Jets right now, they have the
Woo!
third longest win streak in the regular season
To
spanning
start a
two
season.
seasons in NHL
Oh,
history. They're at 15 games right now. Of course,
wow.
last year they had an 8-game win streak. They're opened up at 7-0. And the question is, can they sustain? And is this team finally going to get over the hump in the playoffs? I know we're a long ways away. What's your take on them so far?
Well, I mean, I like the way they're playing. They're but I relate them to Toronto.
Okay.
Um, they got destroyed in the playoffs last year. They didn't look like a team that could compete with Colorado.
After game one, they did.
I mean, yeah, and Connor Hellebuck is a great regular season goalie,
Yep.
but he has got to prove it to me in the playoffs. So I will be doubting them until it's one of those things. You got to see it to believe it. And look, hey, 7 in a row. That's great to start a season. 15 in a row, but you got to do it in the playoffs. For me, like a guy like Connor Hellebuck has gotten a lot of credit, but you got to do it when it's prime time. It's same with the Leafs. The Leafs have great regular seasons. They pound teams. They score power play goals. They get point nights. But in the playoffs, they haven't gotten past the second round since
Disappear.
93. We're talking for a long time. So for early 2000s, 20 years at least.
20 over 20.
So no, it's exciting. Look, and I'm happy because there's been some talk about Winnipeg maybe not staying. So
that makes me sad. It does.
Yeah, I mean, but no, that's great. It's great for that city because I think they'll get hyped on them. That arena is awesome. It's small.
I've been in there. I've done games
in there. It packs it in.
Yeah,
they pack it in there. But yeah, they're off to a great start. Minnesota, I love their start. Like I said, we talked about them last week. They're getting really good goaltending, and their top guys, Kirill the Thrill, has just been fantastic.
Our boy Faber,
season. Just a stud. I don't know how to describe him other than that. He's a steady guy. Just love his personality too. He's just calm. He's gonna be a captain there. They've got all the right things. If that goaltending continues, they're gonna be a team right there.
So the Winnipeg Jets right now through 7 Friday night, we're taping this, are plus 18. They're 31-13. The only team that's remotely close to them are the Rangers because of Shesterkin, because of the continuity, because of their team. They're at plus 17. They're 5-1-1. But, there's a team that nobody's really talking about in the league so far. Well, there's actually two, but the first one for me is the Washington Capitals, who have an .833 win percentage under Spencer Carberry. And the Calgary Flames are .786. I mean, Carberry, this dude can absolutely coach, man. Look what he's done with that team. And in the offseason, the Caps go out and they add Chikrin. They add some other,
love that
blue guys.
Yeah.
I heard, I'll give you a correlation. I heard last night, was watching a little bit of Inside the NBA, and they were talking about Oklahoma City and what they went out and got. They had the best record in the NBA last year, but they didn't get through. And they did to me what the Capitals have done. They addressed a couple key areas, and now those guys are in there, and now they're winning games.
Yeah, and they have this, tricky situation they're in right now too. To be honest, let's just not, the grade 8. He's on the 17th tee box at the very least. But he has got this great. But he's got this great challenge ahead of him. He's got 40 goals. He needs 41 to break it.
Yep.
Now that's not going to happen this year. I just don't see it happening. That he's going to get hot. Could happen. Probably not.
Yeah.
But he's up there now, and it's a tricky thing of you're trying to build this thing. Spencer Carberry is a young coach, didn't play national. I actually played a little bit with him in a training camp in a Chicago UHL team.
Did you really?
Nice guy. Wasn't the best player. He got
2 goals for Ovi, by the way. 2 goals so far.
Got 2 now. Okay, 1 empty netter. So no, look, I'm not saying he's gonna. If he'll score 40 if he gets a centerman to play with it that's gonna feed the puck. The guy can shoot. He'll be shooting. He could score goals in the NHL when he's 65 if he can find that one-time spot. So it's great to see that they got good goaltending. Dylan Strom's a nice player. He's kind of grown up now, where he's kind of like a a middle of the lineup guy, but yeah, hey, Calgary's staying in there. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
It's October still. These starts are great, but they traded their goalie too. Let's not remember Markstrom, who I love now. The fact that he's in New Jersey, he's gone, and like I said, they're going with that two-headed monster, and maybe it works. I mean, it's just if you're going to make the playoffs like a team at Calgary, you needed to get a good start.
Yeah.
If you're Colorado that starts 0-4-1, you're like, okay, we've been there. We can figure it out. So there was no way Calgary's going to make playoffs if they started the opposite way. So, hey, we'll see how it goes. I mean, literally 7 games in, great start. But I'm holding on to that. They're fake and not real at this point. That's just the way it is.
And with the Caps, I mean, let's not forget, too, I'm sure you saw over the week discussion a lot about Tom Wilson. Is he going to be on the Four Nations team for the Canadians? I mean, he's got 5-1. He's a +4 in 6 games. Got one in the power play. I mean, he's kind of getting away from being, for a lack of better words,
he's growing up.
Yeah, he's grown up. He's not being Johnny Gaudreau's, favorite word in the locker room. He's not being as big of a donkey as he has been.
Right.
He's being more of a hockey player and playing smart.
I just think that's maturity of growing up. For most players, that happens. I think he would bring a dynamic for that team. Just a different way. He wouldn't be a top line guy. He would be third, fourth line, but he would bring that physical presence. You could put him in front of the net on the power play because you're gonna have an all-star team when especially you're talking about Team Canada. You're gonna maybe want to mix in a few guys that bring a different thing. Maybe he's not one of your 12 best forwards in the league, but he brings that different physical and kind of intimidating, quite frankly, when pucks get dumped in, they don't want to see him coming in deep. And I think that's something that Canada's gonna need. Crosby and those guys, they're not going to finish guys, blast them into the boards. Their intimidation is with their skill and speed. Wilson would bring that element.
Well, speaking of physical play, Cappy, the Trouba train was on the tracks in Montreal the other night. And as is the case oftentimes on social, people freak out. They're like, oh, the guy's dirty, this, that. You and I have one thing that we're not going to agree on in this podcast, but this is not the area. That was not a penalty. It was clearly not a penalty. The guy had his head down and was marbling his pass. Am I right? And what was your take?
Yeah, no, it was a great hit. He just has a reputation because he has had some that weren't legal. Right. And he's a big dude, and he throws all of his 225 or whatever he is. He turns his ass in there and whew.
Is he to you? I know you got more to say, but I got to ask you this. So you got a gnat attack going on there, brother.
Gnat attack, getting crushed.
Florida. So is he to you the modern day version of what Scott Stevens was when he played the position? I'm not saying the player. Is he that guy?
Play it that way. I would say he's the one guy that you fear coming across the middle now because quite frankly, you can't do it anymore, or it's not worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze to lay that big hit because yes, it can change a game. Maybe you do it in a certain type of game if you're down 2-0 early or something like that.
Right.
But it's not worth it for you to do it and get suspended or kicked, all major penalty, put your team even further behind the 8 ball. It's just not. The game has changed that way. I was never a big hit guy, so I don't. I like physical play. I wasn't afraid of that. I went over the middle of the ice. I took hits. I gave some here and there, but I wasn't a physical player. It's Trouba's game, and he brings that little bit of fear he puts in teams because he's the guy you see 9 out of 10 times. He's in the recording of the hit, and some of them have been bad. I've seen a couple. I saw one in person in Chicago a couple of years ago, and I thought it was illegal. It was this one. I think was clearly not.
I agree.
That guy made a terrible play.
He did.
He came slow, and then he didn't have his eye on the play. You got to know what's coming at you, and you kind of have it right in front of you. It wasn't like he had his head back or something.
Yep.
So I 1,000% think it was a good play, and it's just his. If it was another guy on another team, it probably would have been brought up. But Trouba's got that, the 8 to 10 year now track record of making those big hits, and so everyone's going to have a little more because it was Jacob Trouba.
I still remember the short time he was at Michigan, did a ton of his games in the CCHA. And
Yeah.
Darren Elliott, Darren's
Yep.
been out in Vegas for a while, and we were paired together on quite a few of those games. And he always used the phrase, man, this guy is turning into a man child right in front of our eyes, man.
Yep.
If he ever nail that one, because that's what he's become. And now when he hits a guy, he's got to be ready to drop the mitts and fight a guy like
Everybody does now. It's very weird how everything has become such a copycat, and not just hockey and everything.
Yeah.
But one big hit, and you feel like your teammates got to do this. And I get it, because you want to stick up for your teammates, but
right.
sometimes it's just a clean hit and it's part of the game.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that shakes out. I feel like that's changing. I think it's kind of like there should be maybe if it keeps happening so much, there should be some kind of extra penalty. If it's deemed not a penalty on the first hit and you go attack a guy, there should definitely be extra ramifications for that. But that's probably conversation down the road.
All right, you and I disagree from time to time. I would say in the 7 episodes, Cappy, we've done of this, we agree more than we disagree. But one area we didn't agree on a few weeks back was top 5 goalies in the NHL. Sergei Bobrovsky, in your book, not a top 5 goalie, but I present you this. He is now the fastest player to win 400 games in an NHL net all time, 707 games. He eclipsed Henrik Lundqvist's record by 20 games. Is he still not a top 5?
Right now,
yes.
He's not. That's a great record. That's a longevity thing. That is fantastic. He's just not in my top 5. He's a top 10 goalie for sure, but he's not in the top 5. And that could change. Like, it's fluid, right?
Okay.
Shoot, a year and a half ago, he wasn't in the top 25. He wasn't even starting goalie in
top
the league.
25? That far down?
At the time, like, things are fluid. Like, then he got in the net and took him to the final, and then last year he was great again and had a great run.
2 finals in a row.
That's great. He had a great team in front of him. He's not a top 5 goalie. Not a top 5 goalie.
You're playing that
in the
card.
league. In the league right now. I'm not talking about his career. He is probably getting close to Hall of Fame status. He probably is cemented it now, winning the Stanley Cup. I just don't think he's a top 5 goalie right now. Right now I'm sticking with that. Ask me in January, maybe, if he's having another great year. It's fluid.
All right. You and I, this is like communication for those that may be watching. This will get clipped. I promise you that.
That's fine. That's good. Hey, and you can replay this for me later.
I'll go back into the archives
when he's winning the Vezina or something like that. And you know what? I'll say at the time he wasn't. Now he is. Connor Hellebuck. He's the top 5 goalie right now. Ask me again in April when he doesn't play well in the playoffs. I mean, those are where the money is made.
All right.
So, all
right.
We'll see.
Had to bring that up for the milestone for Bobrovsky.
Hey, I'm all for it.
And for the conversation between the two of us.
But I want to gripe now.
Okay, that is that time of the show. So gripe time, 3 stars. The floor is yours, Cappy.
Okay. I'm not going to beat this to death. We talked about it last week.
Maybe.
It was the gripe about the voting. But what happened last weekend is the prime example of why I don't like that there's voting now. You had a team that went in and had a nice weekend in Vegas, won a game in overtime, which means it wasn't a true win, got outshot 54-17. They move up in the rankings.
Correct.
Which is fine. So they're 12-13 in the rankings.
You're talking about Omaha.
Well, I was going to do it without names just because, whatever, it's fine. So that was Omaha. They didn't go in and route anybody, but they had a nice win. You beat Minnesota, great. The next weekend they're at home playing an unranked team, which everyone should be at that point.
Right.
And they lose the first game at home. I think it was a 1-goal game, tight contested at home. That same unranked team comes back into their barn again and shuts them out 4-0.
Yeah.
And when the rankings come out on Monday, one team is 2-2, the other team is 3-1, and the 2-2 team that got swept by this other team that's 3-1 is still ranked, which is fine. I don't have a problem with them being ranked. I had them still ranked, but the other team is not ranked. And it just shows that how little people were paying attention that get to vote. So if
Yeah.
you are going to let these people vote, you can't expect a whole lot from them at this point. So it just pisses me off, quite frankly, that there's a lot of people that have these votes that probably don't give a shit, or they just care about their section of the country. And then, Augustana gets left out. They were almost made it because enough people got their senses, but not
Yeah.
enough. You can't have a team this early in the season. They didn't get ranked, frankly, because they're a second year program.
Garbage.
If that was UMass Lowell or any Bowling Green, a team that has history,
Yep.
that was 1-1, and then they go in on the road and sweep a ranked team like they did. They didn't beat them in overtime. They shut them out 4-0 on the game. You'd think Omaha would come back with vengeance after Friday night loss. They shut them out 4-0, and
in
this
their
team's
barn.
still not ranked, and they should be ahead of.
They
should be ahead of them. I mean, the Minnesota Omaha thing, it's one game and it was an overtime, and the shots matter. There's no way I would rank Omaha over Minnesota. If they did that for Friday and then they played again and Omaha shut them out 4-0, I'd have Omaha way ahead of them. But so like this is the second, third weekend of the year. You've got to have your mind open way more early in the season, because a team that's 3-1 who just swept them over a team now that's 2-2. Swept them on the road, should be ahead of them in the rankings. I don't care what anyone says. If this happened in February, different story, right? Say Augustana's 7-12 and Omaha's 14-7, and they're ranked this. There's body of work there.
Yeah.
This is brand new, and you go in there and make that statement. They should be ahead of them, and that's why I think the rankings are stupid, because you shouldn't have them right now. Because in 2 weeks now, if you start in November 1, you'd be like, okay, look, I can look at there's this that's happened. This team did this. Oh, their record's this. Oh, but their strength of schedule. Right now, it's just anyway. That's my gripe, and I'm gonna stick with it.
I will validate that and back you up 100%. And I will say this: that Garrett Raboyne, their head coach at Augustana, they're going to get one of those games against St. Cloud this weekend. He's a former Husky.
Is it a home and home?
Well, either way, they're winning one of them. Let me look.
Okay,
but they're winning one of those games.
They got that brand new barn there, too. Right, that's going to be a nice recruiting tool for them. So, I like what he's got going there, and clearly he knows what he's doing.
I am looking right now. I should have had that ready. No, they're both at the Herb. They're both in St. Cloud. That's a little bit too far of a home and home, but yeah, they're both there. Right. They're winning one of those games.
Okay,
coach, and they're a good program, and he's going to do good things there, man. So
yeah, just from what I've seen, I mean, you go into Omaha. Omaha's got a good team. I'm not saying they don't have a good team.
Gabby's a good coach too.
They're very similar to St. Cloud. They've got a lot of good, solid players. There's nobody that's going to blow your doors off. Yep. Maybe a net for Omaha. Lakotzi's really good,
right?
But they're good teams. They're just not. They don't have any star-studded players. They just play a solid team game. So it'd be very similar action there. And I'll tell you what, if Augustana goes in there and sweeps, if they're not ranked, we're going to have 3 weeks in a row of griping. If they even split, they're
splitting.
I mean,
I'm telling you,
if they do that, if they're not ranked, then we got problems, because they're going on the road and won 3 out of 4 between Omaha and St. Cloud. So, okay,
all right,
let's move on.
3 stars of the week time. I believe the floor is yours, Mr. Cappy and I, your 3rd star of the week.
I feel like it's always mine.
I went last week.
You did, okay.
I did.
I'm going to go with the team I just talked about.
Okay.
That's my 3rd star.
You double dip the chip.
Well, you know what? Hey, when you do good things like that, brand new program, 2nd year, you go in and sweep on a road a ranked team who just beat a team that we both think is a national title contender, Minnesota. You go into their barn and sweep them, you're getting a star for the week. So, Augustana, you are my 3rd star of the week.
All right, I'm going with, me, I'm going to go off the board on most of mine. They're all
okay.
They're always going to be a little bit obscure.
I'm meat and potatoes. You're kind of like the caviar and
okay.
The quail.
Cheesecake. Shane Doan, who tried to fight Radko Gudas the other night. It was 8 years to the day, Cappy, that Gudas injured his father. And I kind of went with this one in light of the whole LeBron and Bronny thing. I'm not a huge fan
Sure,
of that.
sure.
I think it's the absolute definition of nepotism, but I'll leave that for another
Right.
podcast. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yep.
Shane Doan got injured and was out for a while after a bad hit from Gudis and his son Shane, who went after him. That's my third star of the week.
Okay. Well, I love that. That's great. Because I actually like Radko's game, but he is a little bit dangerous.
I do too, but he's a little dirty at times. Number 2.
Yeah. Man, I had a difficult time thinking of this would be like my number one because back to the NHL.
Yep.
And I ragged on this team.
Not my
But
Red Wings, is it?
this guy has started the season on an 8-game point streak.
Ooh.
His team is light. We talked about very top heavy, very bottom, very light. This guy is leading the league in scoring after 2 weeks, and he's a defenseman.
Yep.
And he's literally carrying that team on his back.
Yes.
And he's got a little help. But Kale McCarr at 15 points in week 2, he's at the top of the league. He's my number 2 star.
1 point in front of Artemi Panarin. He is 2 points in front of Kaprizov, Kucherov, Rantanen, and McKinnon and Sam Reinhart. So good call by you there. My number 2 star, a former Chicago Blackhawk, now Detroit Red Wing, Patrick Kane, who moved into 4th all-time in game-winning goals by American-born players with 77. Okay. He scored the G-dub against the Devils Thursday night. Next on the list, Zach Parise at 83, Jeremy Roenick, and the pride of Westland, Michigan, Mike Modano are both tied at 92. That's my number 2 star of the week.
Okay. Pretty good.
Okay. Number 1.
Look, I'm boring. I'm very boring this week. I went with a team again. I was a college team. And you're going to be surprised at this because I kind of don't believe in them. I'm going with the Winnipeg Jets. You start the season out 7-0-0. It's so easy in hockey. Basketball, it's win-loss, win-loss. Yep. You have that third category. We get a game to overtime. So you get an overtime loss or not. They have a clean 7-0 mark through 2 weeks. And that's just really hard to do in the NHL.
Yep.
And, it's boring. It's not sexy, but that's where we're at right now. Wins and losses. They have 7 up and 7 down in the National Hockey League. So all credit to them, and they get my number 1 star of the week.
I like it. My number 1 star of the week turned 70 years old on Friday, October the 25th of 2024. The guy they called Rizzo, Mike Eruzione. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in the 1980 Winter Olympics, including the most famous goal ever scored in USA hockey history, the game winner to beat the Soviets midway through the 3rd period in the Miracle on Ice. That is my number 1 star of the week.
Mike Eruzione. I mean, I was in Lake Placid 2 years ago, doing a tournament there. And man, it was awesome to be there. It was my second time there, but it was the first time in the winter and right around that time of year. And you could just feel it, like the whole team, but then him. I mean, he had his name's all over the bars and restaurants around there. And it's from great player captain, but from one moment, it's amazing. Where his life is gone. One moment in hockey. And a huge moment, obviously, but pretty good stuff. So 7-0. Wow. All those guys are probably turning around that.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously they're all around 19, 20-year-olds when that was going down. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Mike Ramsey, who we playing, Rammer? Mike Ramsey was 19, was the youngest guy on the team. So, yeah, I'm with you. I went there. Starman and I did the D3 tournament. I want to say it was 09. And we did the semis and the final, man. And I got chills just talking about this with you, man. Like, I've showed you my magazine and all that.
It's a great rink. What a great rink.
And I went all the spots where they told me, went in the locker room that the U.S. team was in. And I mean, it's if you're a hockey fan, it's an experience you've got to experience, like you said, man. And
go in the summer, though. Tough place to go in the winter. Tough to get there.
I still can't believe that they held the Winter Olympics, any Olympics, in that tiny little town.
Yeah. There's no way they could do that ever again.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Different world, obviously, 1980 than now. But it was very the speed skating rink was
right
outside.
There,
outside. I mean, it was cool, but I was fearing my life driving back and forth from the airport in the snow and the ice, in these one lane, single lane hilly roads in the mountains. I
Yep.
mean,
Well,
that's the only thing it's missing. So go there in the summer to check it all out.
I drove there with a friend of mine who was
Yeah.
he's a little bit older than me, and Jim Craig was his hero. He was a goalie, excuse me, Ann Arbor guy, and so we road tripped
Yep.
it. So I went and did that weekend, and the next weekend I was in Grand Rapids. That was the year Bemidji knocked off Notre Dame in the GR regional. So that was a hell of a back-to-back weekend. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hell of a place, man, and no other place like it, man. I get goosebumps every
No,
time I
that
talk
is
about
for
it.
sure. It was. It was. I was so happy to go there and do that.
Yep.
I was there when I was 16 for like USA Select Camp, but that was in the middle of the summer. Got
Yep.
to skate in that arena, which was
Oh,
great. It just didn't have the same feel being there in the summer. When you're in the winter and you're walking the roads and they got
yep.
fires burning and you're smoking marshmallows. And this thing I was at was like a Olympic Games type of environment. It
Cool.
wasn't the Olympics; it was like college games, but it had that feel, so it felt really cool. And you felt like it was that same type of atmosphere.
We one more thing for my trip with my buddies. So we drove it, like I said, and we go downtown to the where all the bars and restaurants were, and we start tossing a few back, and my buddy's sick, man. He's got some kind of crud. And I've never seen a guy play pool better. We took on these two guys from Boston, and we rolled them all night, man. It was quite a start to the weekend, man. But yeah, if you get a
Nice.
chance, go to Lake Placid, see that place. It's unbelievable.
Definitely.
Another one of the books, Cappy. Good to see you from Florida.
Last time. Next week we'll be back in Chicago.
Back in the old
I think
homestead.
maybe Halloween night, or it'll have to be Halloween because the next
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday I'll be in South Bend. So
Well, my girlfriend's
we'll
birthday
figure it out.
my girlfriend's birthday is Wednesday, but we normally tape Thursday or Friday. So yeah, Thursday works.
Yeah.
We'll figure it
Thursday
out, brother.
night probably be a later one. Okay, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed doing these, and hope you're enjoying watching them. Paul Cap and Igry Ben Holden saying thanks for watching episode 7 of Nothing But Hockey. We'll see you next time.